For more reaction, let's bring in senior national security analyst Rick Grenell. He's also a former acting director of national intelligence and former U.S. ambassador to Germany. Rick, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Lydia.
All of this conflict that's going on in the world, I can't help but reiterate that phrase, weakness begets aggression. So many people are saying that if Trump were still in office, Ukraine, the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan, and now Israel would have never happened. Do you agree?
Yes, I'm one of those people. I think there's no question if Donald Trump were in office. It's because, look, President Trump knows how to use all the different tools. Sometimes he engages with countries that people don't want him to engage with, like North Korea. Sometimes he uses sanctions like he did with Iran, which really worked. And sometimes he resorts to credible threats of military action and sometimes military action. But he didn't start any new wars, and he launched peace accords. But I think what's really important for us to understand right now as we watch college campuses across our country really getting it wrong, I think we need to be telling our passionate young people 2 points, 2 facts that they need to understand. First of all, is that Christians, Jews, and Arabs do live peacefully in Jerusalem right now. That is a city that works. They all live together peacefully, but you have to ask yourself, what happened in Gaza and what is happening in the Palestinian territories? And it's very important to understand that in August of 2005, when I worked at the United Nations for the United States, Israel decided to pull out of Gaza. They did this because Palestinians were demanding that they pull out. So in 2005, 18 years ago, Israel pulled everyone out, all of the soldiers, all of the Israelis, and literally said, okay, let's let the Palestinians have this land and see what they do with it. They were hoping that they would turn it into beautiful beaches, beautiful land, but it got worse, Lydia. After Israel pulled out, the people of the Palestinian territories in Gaza elected Hamas as their leader. Hamas leadership became billionaires. The people became much poorer. Poverty was everywhere. Terrorism took off. What do you expect Israel to do when their neighbor, who they pulled out and said, okay, take you this land and do with it what you want. This is now yours. And then it becomes a terrorist haven shooting rockets against it. I say to every single person who's trying to tell Israel to calm down or just sit there, I say, you don't understand history. You don't understand what Israel has tried. They are left with nothing but the important task of getting rid of the terrorists who live right next door to them.
And it's incredible to me when I hear people, those protesters, calling Gaza an open-air prison, accusing Israel of a genocide, asking for a ceasefire, when we all know that if Israel laid down arms, there would be no Israel left. Trump, he obviously practiced the policy of peace through strength. He spoke before the Republican Jewish Council yesterday. Rick, I want you to take a listen to hear what he said.
We must have strong borders, strong military, strong families, strong cultures, and above all, we must have a strong American president. That's where it starts. You don't have a strong president, the rest is just words. It's only words. It's only words. You never had any of these problems. For 4 years, you didn't have any of these problems. Think of it. You wouldn't have Ukraine. You wouldn't have Israel being attacked. You wouldn't have inflation. You wouldn't have anything. You'd have gasoline selling at $1.87.
He also said that if they killed one American, he would spill a gallon of our adversary's blood. And I was looking on social media and saying, oh, look, how could Trump say something like that? But you have to be strong in the face of your adversaries, no?
Look, I think what we're talking about with world leaders is that, especially with the United States, is there's a threat of military action, and then there's a credible threat of military action. And the credible threat is what really deters people. If your enemies believe that you actually just might do something, they're going to change their behavior, which is why when President Trump in the Oval Office called some terrorist leaders and said, don't even think about hurting an American. We went for years without Americans being hurt or killed. And that's phenomenal. And President Trump's record speaks for itself. But look, at the end of the day, we saw Joe Biden, and he just kept repeating the word don't. Don't. That's not a credible threat of military action. Donald Trump has a credible threat, but I will remind people that he didn't start any new wars, and he ushered in peace with that very credible threat of military action. He is somebody who wants peace, who seeks to find solutions, but has behind him a credible threat of military action where our enemies listen.
And that's important. Rick Grenell, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
All the best.